much.
관 짜야 해. 보내줘. 관에 넣어. 내 몸만은 에게 언젠가.
Game, I'm impressed, but also slightly horrified by how thoroughly you removed Kathy from it. Greetings and salutations, everyone. I'm Edgar. This is Limbus Company. This is sort of a wrap-up, so for a start, Edgar family Chief Butler Ryoshu and Edgar family Butler Ishmael are now available. Since I have the option to, let's burn some tickets.
이쪽에 아직 먼지가 남아있네요. 기관지가 안 좋으신 분이니 좀 더 철저히... 그냥 제가 하죠.
Sadly, we didn't pull the Chief Butler Ryoshu, but that's okay because I actually got enough so I can dispense her.
신정. 그렇게 해서 버틀러라고 말할 수 있겠나? 나와, 내가 보여주지. 신속하고 정확하게.
Okay, so let's check out what their stories have to show us. First of all, we have a blunt poi. Skill 1, Sweeping Redirection. Gain poise, inflict sinking. Sloth blunt. Tier 2. I don't know why I'm missing an HE, I'm not going to question it. Tier 2, Housekeeping. Gain poise count, gain haste next turn, inflict defense level down, and inflict 4 sinking. Interesting. If we uptie her, then she gains Sweeping Redirection, which also gives poise count on use. That's extremely nice. Housekeeping, gain 2 poise count and gain 2 poise on Clash Win. If this unit critically hits against targets with slowest speed, inflict 1 additional potency for negative effects with its skills. 3 times per turn. Cool. And if we get this to uptie 3, she goes from 3 to 6 to 4 to 6. Restraining Technique. New skill, Slash Gloom. Gain 6 poise on use. On hit, inflict sinking count, and then sinking and slash fragility. Increase the base power for her skill 1. Increase the base power for her skill 2. And support passive of Loyal Supporter. When one ally with the fastest speed attacks the target with sinking, deal more damage for every sinking they have.
주인님의 집안에 고용된 버틀러가 유능하지 않을 리가 없죠. 병약해지신 틈을 타 부당한 이득을 취하려는 놈들은 제가 청소해드리겠습니다.
The Edgar Manor, wreathed in ambient sunlight, is full of the sounds of brooms and butler boots moving about its premises. Butlers of the Edgar family are busy with their last-minute deep cleaning of the manor before the Wolven hunt. Brooms brushing against the floor, dishes clattering against one another, loud bustling footsteps. The child is quietly and impassively dusting the window frames amidst the clamour. Come on, let's try not to neglect these out-of-the-way corners. The child would normally have quietly taken care of it herself without telling anyone, but now that they're all busily preparing for the hunt, she decided to give them a warning to avoid drawing the ire of her master, or the chief butler. It may have sounded a tad noisy, but it was her own way of caring for the other butlers. Even a pinch of dust particles could be dangerous for our master, you know. Sorry, I'll be more careful from now on. Come on, the hunt's coming up. Let's keep ourselves in tip-top shape, alright? Of course, she wasn't just worried for her fellow butlers. It was clear from the way she spoke that she cared terribly for her master. Perhaps that was an obvious outcome. The child used to be a fixer drifting through the back streets. and she wandered for a long time, unable to find her purpose in life. The Edgar family took her in, gave her a roof over her head, and gave her a definite purpose to live for. Perhaps that is why the child does not tell the chief butler whenever the other child, her master, indulges in alcoholic drinks. That is why the child does not even dare open the window when her master is home, for fear of letting chill winds into the manor. Her devotion to her master almost appears like a blind obsession. Do you think the master would have been less ill had he not been hunting for the wolf? I doubt it. Master has already lost his arm in Miss Isabella before the hunt even started. Yeah, but besides, it doesn't matter whether our master gives up his hunt or not, because that wolf won't. He won't stop until he's taken everything that our master has. Oh, speaking of which, wasn't there someone that wolf loved, Huh? Love? What are you talking about? What was it again? It's nothing, sorry, I have no idea where that came from. There was a large hole where that child once stood. The child was likely the cause of all this misery. The child grew puzzled as she suddenly felt the fog of memory from this casual conversation. But she ignored this odd sense of déjà vu. It would be much more reasonable for her to focus on the hunt rather than to get hung up on such details. Is it already time? The sun hangs over the horizon. The terrible wailings of those pulled from the other side begin to echo from nearby. The great rumbling begins to intensify within the halls of the manor. Past the window where the forces of the dead, wreathed under orange light of the eventide, swarming up toward the manor. Even as I remain awake, does that endless nightmare seek to claim me? They're nothing but weaklings, an advance party. I see. The wolf caught wind of our hunt, I suppose. The other child, her master, draws his saber and readies himself, but the child shakes her head. Master, Lady Ryoshu, leave them to me. DBS, me and this fool master can take them out in the blink of an eye. The child waits until the warm light of the eventide, the colour of her hair, reflects off the floorboards of the manor's hallway. She looks into the eyes of the chief butler and her master. The two of you have a wolf to hunt. Don't let the dead waste your energy. Perhaps the two believed that this child's words had merit. Her master lowers his saber. The chief butler grumbles for a moment before sheathing her knives and crossing her arms. Only then does the child pull an oddly engraved broom and a sharp knife from the dimensional attaché case issued to butlers. Hunting cutlery's at the ready. Don't you get yourself killed like an idiot. The child lives up to her confidence. The well-sharpened knife cuts through the army of the dead like butter. And the generations-old broom of the Edgar family butlers keeps her enemies at bay. She routed the forces of the dead with every knife thrown in broom swing, handily knocking them down like she was dusting a particularly stubborn corner. The advanced force that assailed the manor is already looking rather thin. The intense light of the sunset shines through the windows still. Doesn't seem like housekeeping will cause them to run late to the hunt. Interesting. Anyway, if you hit her up to uptie 4, if this unit's speed is faster than the target's, gain 1 coin power. So a good reason to be faster, and on crit she gains haste. Nice. If this unit's faster than the target, gain +1 coin power, gain 2 poise count, etc. On crit, inflict 1 bind. On hit, inflict 2 defense level down. Odd. If this unit's speed is faster than the target's, coin power +1. On use, gain 6 poise. On hit, inflict 2 bind next turn. And finally, give her a Gloom Evade, which heals 5 SP once per turn. Her support passive improves to a maximum of 20% per damage. But we don't want to do that because we want to see what Ryoshu's new ID is like. So, receiving arts, the hunt. Minimum of 2 rolls a football coin. Not her best, but there's certainly worse skill ones that she could have. On use, gain 2 poise count. Gain 2 more poise count. Inflict 2 Butler's mark. Enhance Ryoshu's skills against targets with this effect. Turn end, reduce the count by 1. So they can drop off if she doesn't keep up her hits on the target. Combat start. Consume 6 poise count on self to gain 2 attack weight for this skill. On hit, gain 2 poise. On hit, inflict 2 Butler's mark. So caps at 14. Not impressive, but we haven't done any uptying yet. And mediocre. Heal SP on evade 3 times per turn. So if we uptie her to rank 2, then she gains 1 speed. But having a minimum of 3 is still kind of dangerous, as the fight with actual Nelly showed. If this unit's speed is faster than the target's by 3 or more, gain 1 clash power. And gain 3 poise instead of 2 poise. Combat passive. On hits against targets with Butler's mark, gain 1 haste next turn. 3 times per turn. On crit against targets with Butler's mark, eliminate Butler's mark. Then, if this unit's speed is faster than the target, deal 5% plus 5% damage on critical hit for every speed difference. You need a lot of speed to hit that 30% though. Yeah, she'd have to be 6 speed in comparison to them, so without a way to gain haste, it's going to be a snowball's chance in hell most of the time. Oh, right, it's called Clearing Household Chores. But now, the interesting part. She goes up from 3 to 7 to 3 to 8. Skill gain. Receiving arts 2. Slit your neck cleanly. If the target has Butler's mark, clash power plus 1. On use, gain 7 poise count. On hit, gain 5 poise, inflict 1 bind next turn, raise stagger threshold by 20% of damage dealt. That'd just be an 11, but given that it's a plus 5 offense level, that might actually be a lot stronger than I think it is. On hit 2, if target is staggered, deal 20% more damage on critical hit and inflict 2 Butler's marks. Skill upgrades. Base power bonus to her skill 1. If this unit's speed is faster than 3 or more, clash power plus 1. That doesn't really look much better than what we already have. Why'd you light it up? Increase the coin power on her skill 2. When the ally that was deployed last wins a clash, gain 1 poise count 3 times per turn. So that's going to be very nice backup passive for poise.
히스클리프, 네 놈은 내가 처리해야 할 집안일이니까.
You there, third from the right. Yes, the one who just wiped the windowsill. Yes, ma'am. Look at where the frames meet. Mold residue. Remember, no second chances. Apologies, ma'am. You there. Yes, the new hire from 23 days ago. Do you not see what's wrong with your brooch? I suppose it'll look proper once I SYNC. Is that what you want? I'll wear it right, ma'am. The child pays no mind to the fearful voices. She leaves nothing behind but the sound of her low-heeled boots clacking against the wooden flooring. There is less than a day to go until the Wolven hunt begins. Thus begins the morning of the chief butler. She was never too nice to her subordinates to begin with, but Clearly, she was much more on edge than usual. That was clear in her attitude. Lady Ryoshu. What? Another child, one of her subordinates, walked up behind the chief butler. Her expression is grim. She's obviously gearing up to bring a rather serious subject. The other butlers are rather anxious. They're saying you're quite different from your usual self. That the upcoming... quite different from my usual self? Me? This is not to say you normally do a sloppy job of overseeing our work, but you're much less lax than usual of late. Huh. BS. I would never let such imperfections slide. Certainly, but you often took it upon yourself to take care of such imperfections because ordering someone else to do it for you was too bothersome. The child was quite self-aware of her own behaviour. In fact, this newfound attitude was a deliberate one. I'll keep my guard up. I won't weigh you down once the hunt begins. I don't appreciate you trying to read me. The child sighs as she leaves the hallway. Something didn't go according to plan. She was merely trying to keep everyone on edge so that when the wolf would inevitably come to besiege the manor, they could at least save their own skin. But her uncharacteristic actions were immediately obvious to those around her. Right, I suppose I'll stick to what I'm good at. Because I'm the best there is at housekeeping. A tenebrous night descends. The wolf, the target of this hunt, was much more powerful than anyone had anticipated. He emerged, imposing his intimidating strength before the child and the rest of her subordinates. The child instinctively knew that no matter how much her subordinates mentally prepared themselves, there was no possible future in which they will survive this encounter. So she had but one choice. There was never an alternative. All of you, get out of here. Lady Ryoshu? He is beyond all of you. Even though your pathetic skills won't even leave a scratch on him. There's much work to be done back at the manor. You haven't even started your morning duties, have you? Run along, get to work. The child glared at the formidable wolf before her. She slowly drew her long knife. And that was the end of the discussion. She didn't have any more words to impart to her subordinates. She needed every strength she could conserve to even have a chance at defeating this foe. R-U-D-E. Indeed. Rather unfortunately making a rather unfortunate destructive entrance. The child's voice was as low and collected as it always was. I hardly imagined that such an encounter would lie in our future back when I raised you. But there was an odd shudder at the tip of the dagger she held, a little fear, or perhaps regret. I see that you haven't much you must protect Ryoshu. Well, I remain the same. Like always, I only see what I must maul and destroy. The child did not continue the conversation. She wondered, for a moment, if things could have been different, if she had done something differently than him. But they both knew very well that there was no point to contemplations. At this point of no return, when nothing could possibly change, there was only one thing that the child could do. I'm just taking care of an unfinished housekeeping chore. To hunt the wolf that bares its teeth at the one who raised him. I don't know whether this is the Earl King Heathcliff or a specific Wolf Heathcliff, but it's very clear that this story is not over. There's got to be one more season 4 ID to this nonsense. Anyway, if you finish up tying her, if this unit's speed is faster than the target's, gain clash power +1 for every 2 speed difference to a maximum of 3. That is a lot more useful. If this unit's speed is faster than the main target's, gain clash power +1 for every 2 speed difference. Consume 6 poise count on self. Hang on. So she either needs to use her skill 3 once, or 2 skill 1s in order to get the AoE on her skill 2, which is slightly better than what that's slightly better than Spice Bush saying, because he needs to do a skill 3 and skill 1, or I think he needs to get through 3 skill 1 in order to afford his AoE. Ah yeah, on crit, inflict 1 Butler's Mark. If this unit's speed is faster than the target, gain coin power for every 2 speed difference to a maximum of 2. 1 coin power, maximum of 2 means it's 22! That's a pretty nice number, to be honest. On hit, gain poise, etc. Raise stagger threshold by 30%. On crit, inflict a Butler's Mark. If target is staggered, deal 40% more damage on a critical hit. Inflict 2 Butler's Mark. On kill, reuse this skill once on a random target with Butler's Mark. Does not activate on reuse or if there is no target with Butler's Mark. And upgrading her defensive skill. 5 times per turn, she can heal 3 SP. She also gains 1 poise count 5 times per turn. So she's going to be a bit better at getting out AoEs than Spice Bush is. But it's going to be slash damage as opposed to his blunt damage. On hit against target with Butler's Mark, gain 1 poise count and 1 haste next turn. Okay, now she can really start picking up some haste. On crit against targets with Butler's Mark, eliminate Butler's Mark on them. Then, if we're faster, deal 10% more damage for every speed difference to a maximum of 60%. So she still needs to outspeed her target by 6. And when the ally that was deployed last wins a clash, gain poise count and haste next turn. So haste once, poise count 3 times. So, we actually spent most of the episode doing that, but I have things that I want to say about the story about the Kanto that I've thought now that I've had time for my thoughts to settle. Okay, first of all, I don't think I really hate Nelly for what she did. The thing is that they brought up that some butlers will inherit their contract, so who knows how long she might have just grown up serving Kathy like that. But the way that she shows up to skedaddle with the golden bow at the end, I understand that they needed an excuse to get it back to Encore, but the fact it just didn't feel like she had very good motivation for doing that. Especially since we just said, okay, you're free to do whatever you want. Well, I have no idea why there's this golden bow here, but I might as well give it to the person that gave me that mirror. Not that I remember anything about what's going on with the mirror, because time travel, when you alter history, makes things so confusing. Which gets to the more major problem that I have, and that's Kathy's plan. We have Earl King Heathcliff. He determines that the only way for Kathy to be happy is to kill every Heathcliff ever. This is obviously a horrible thing and a complete misconception. But then we have every Kathy, who also thinks that for every Heathcliff to be happy, every Kathy has to die. I feel like it doesn't feel right to say that Earl King is in the wrong, but every Kathy is in the right, because they both have the exact same plan. Just kill everyone. Just kill myself across all the multiverses to save my significant other from stress. It reminds me, and the thing is that we worked very hard to get our connection to the Limbus Company version of Kathy. And after all that, She goes, "Okay, thanks for giving me access to your computer. I'm gonna delete everyone now. Bye." It's a pretty dirty thing to decide that you don't have the right to just... It's a genocide. You do not have the right to judge for everyone else. But no, we basically just let her do it. And it completely... It kind of screws up the stories completely. Because there's no reason for example, Queequeg Heathcliff to be doing what he does. But they couldn't have just removed the voice line, so they just put static over it. It bugs me. Another thing that bugs me is that Heathcliff has new voiced lines for Bodysack. Once during the canto, during that final stretch, and once after the canto. Unfortunately, you can never hear the one during the canto after you've beaten the canto, so I'll have no way of showing what that midway voiced line is. Darn it. The way I see it, it's kind of like the secret villain for Persona 5 Royale, where they decide the world would be better if there was absolutely no suffering whatsoever. You're taking away a lot of good connections there. Like, it was a painful story, yes, but as Heathcliff put it, he was taught to love. You've taken that away from him. And it changes things for so many people. I don't think she had the right to do that. Now the final point to address, Nellie. We still don't know who gave her the mirror shard. The two options are it was either Herman, who is doing experiments on how to screw up across all of the mirror universes, or it was Damien for unknown reasons. He knew, because the thing is, I don't know why Damien would do something like that, but I do believe that he'd be enough of an omnipotent chess master to know that things would turn out exactly this way. But that said, because she said I need to return this golden bowl to the person who gave me the mirror, it is probably going to be Herman. So we have more reasons to feed Herman to the Mephistopheles engine. The Edgars deserve better. That is undeniable. Isabella was dedicated to just be someone who turns up dead after we take down Earl King Heathcliff the first time. And Linton was told, yeah, go make yourself into dough. It's part of Kathy's last wishes. Okay. And then he kills himself with whatever it was that Josephine brought up, the river running underneath the manor. It shows... I think the actual reason that Herman did that isn't for being totally evil, it's because he wanted to experiment with ID technology. And that shows that if you have the right materials to start with, then you can summon in some extraordinarily powerful identities. Actually, I'm not sure whether it's going to be Earl King or not, because it did bring up Hordes of the Dead, but on the other hand, why would he be here? I don't know. Probably should have recorded this earlier in the day so I'm not half asleep when I'm trying to put my thoughts out. I think these fights are very dirty for the fact that you need to either have a pre-made singing team all set for this nonsense, or you need to be or you need to be really lucky and save scum the first turns, because it's very hard to... They gain momentum much faster than you do. Winning clashes gives them SP, but there's nothing to really force their SP down. So they can reach 45 and make it impossible for you to win clashes against them. These fights aren't pretty, and it turns out that they got heavily nerfed as soon as I finished recording. For example, if we look back at this final boss, it isn't showing his attack. But yeah, they've changed it so his stupidly powerful AoE is no longer target fixed, so in case of disasters like that I went through, it's not an instant wipe. Every Catherine had Thorns removed from her defensive skill. Thorns, for the record, deals 50% damage back to target when they take damage. It's very nasty. It was actually used in Refraction Railway 2 and hasn't been seen since. Now the thing is, because it's based on the damage you deal and she has 10 protection at the time, it shouldn't matter, but it turns out that if you hit her with an AoE, it's based on the damage you're dealing. So the full damage that you're dealing to her arms like this, her Thorns will be punishing you for it. There's also the fact that she just throw it out when she's in no arms phase and force you to just waste a turn doing nothing, which is not nice. Because if I remember correctly, it was combat start, not on use, so you couldn't use skill offsetting to get rid of it. I don't know, I think Heathcliff's going to try and get a golden bow to bring Kathy back in all worlds. I hope so, because it does not feel good that we helped her to wipe herself out of existence. Yeah, there were bad things, but there were good things from it too. Anyhow, until next time guys, take care. I'll see you all around.